evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Um, Tonight we're going to be going to yet another area of Tuscany, an area known as Chianti. And first though, I've had a pretty strange week and I thought I might um, tell you a little about it before we began the show. So last Friday night I did that little tribute to Levon Helm. Um, And then I went home that evening and I found out that a friend of mine, Barry Weinbrom, had passed away. And we knew he was sick, and he passed away on Friday. And that was really hard. Barry was a really wonderful guy. He was always upbeat. He was always enthusiastic about things. He was always in a happy mood. He was always involved in projects and doing different things. He was a science teacher, so that was his expertise, but he was always very involved in trying new things, and he always wanted to get other people involved, and he was very exuberant about all of that. And in the past week, I've been asking a couple of people who knew him if Barry ever had a down moment, a moment when, a dark mood or a depressed mood, and the people with whom I spoke said, they never saw it. It's possible that he did, but they never saw Barry in a down mood. So, Barry was a very extraordinary person. I didn't know him really well. We weren't very close friends. But, he slept over the house with his wife, Lenore, a few times. And we got to know him. But, I wasn't really a very close friend. But his friends also, everybody, it was just a terrible thing. And, we all knew he was sick, but we kind of put it out of our minds. And then, of course, he passed away. So I'd like to send my condolences to his wife, Lenore, his daughter, Sarah, and to his whole family, including his niece, Nicole, with whom I've been emailing over the past few days. And in fact, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of Barry Weinbrom. So that was Friday, and then Saturday, Laura and I went into town, and I was sitting on the village green, and a person came onto the village green with her guitar. Her name was Abby Sue Graber, who's the kazoo maker. A lot of you may know her, and she was sitting there playing her guitar, and I was listening and applauding. And she put the guitar down for a moment, and we introduced ourselves, and we were speaking for a while. And I picked up the guitar, and I was holding it, and we were right in front of the memorial to Levon Helm. And she said, "Why don't you play something?" And I said, I'm not playing my guitar on the village green. I'm a terrible guitarist. I'm a very average singer, and I can't do this." And she said, "Well, do something. It doesn't matter." So I decided to play a song that I was very, very fond of, "The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down," in honor of, Levon, who made that song pretty famous with his group, the band. And I just got carried away by the emotions of the past 2 days that, these two deaths, very poignant deaths. And I played the song. Laura was there, and Abby was there, and there was a couple of other people there. And when I finished, I just couldn't believe that I'd done this. And I came to the conclusion that I was inspired by, the two people, Levon Helm, and also I was inspired by Barry Weinbrom. Barry used to love the song "You Could Do Magic." And we were once riding in the car in my convertible, and on the DVD player, he kept insisting that we play the song like 50, 60 times. So I've been playing that song a lot because it reminds me of Barry. And it's been a strange week, but tonight, whenever I get in a down mood myself, I always turn to Italy. I have that, and I kind of look at things related to Italy. I was reading some more books and getting into the show for tonight and other shows that I've been doing. And let me talk a little bit about the Chianti Road. Okay, so, I mentioned that a friend of mine today mentioned, said to me, what what show are you doing tonight? And I said, I'm doing Chianti. And he said, oh, you're going to talk about the wine. And I said, well, you know, I mean, Chianti is known as the wine, but when Laura and I went there in January 2009, I planned that trip not with the wine in mind, but with just going to an area of beautiful scenery. And you know, we're not wine drinkers, so we weren't. You know, you could. One of the things you could do in Chianti is go around to the different wineries and vineyards and really get into the whole wine drinking scene. And that's why I think most people do go to Chianti, but that's certainly not the reason that we did. And we just went there for the beautiful scenery. And my friend Luca, whom I've mentioned many, many times, um, used to live in one of the towns there, and he said it's a beautiful town. And I thought I would just do the tour of Chianti that Laura and I took. Now, this is what Chianti looks like. I have a couple of better pictures of that as obviously as we go along, but this was central Tuscany. If you remember from a few shows ago, this is what central Tuscany looks like. Notice it's kind of flat. There's some hills and maybe an occasional mountain in the background. This is eastern Tuscany, which is the region that we discussed last week when we spoke about what I call the Casentino area. And you'll notice that this area is very mountainous. So, you know, the flat areas of central Tuscany and the hilly areas, the mountainous areas of eastern Tuscany. And Chianti, I always thought of as being an area that's kind of a combination of both, where you get the beautiful plains and hilly terrain, but you also get some mountains in the background. And that's really what Chianti means to me. And again, you know, this is an area that is known for its wine producing, and we'll, you know, pass a lot of vineyards tonight along the way. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the wine because, you know, we went there and didn't do very much wine drinking. We just were there for the beautiful scenery and the beautiful, charming towns. And this, yeah, that's really the reason we went. So once again, let's place Chianti on our map. This is Italy. This is Tuscany in the green. And, you know, we've seen this map many times. And this is my makeshift map where I describe the different areas that I would be covering over the course of my shows on Tuscany. And you can see that number 2 right there in the middle is central Tuscany, which we did a few weeks ago. And then all the way to the right, number 3, is eastern Tuscany, which is the mountainous area. And right between them, sandwiched between the two, and exactly south of Florence, is the area known as Chianti. And we are going to be looking at that area. And, you know, we still have area number 5, which is western Tuscany, which I'm going to be doing 2 shows on. But, you know, I'm going to Italy in 2.5 weeks, and I don't quite have enough pictures of that region, so I will be taking some more pictures of that region, and then I'll come back and do that probably in June or July. But this is a map. I'm trying to make my maps a little more, you know, better and better, and I hope this succeeds. But if you look right there in the middle to the left of Firenze, and that's Florence, of course, and that's where our tour is starting, and this pretty much parallels the tour that we will be taking, and this is the tour that Laura and I took in 2009. We left Florence heading south on SS 222, which is known as the Chiantigiani Road, and you could see there the town of Greve, which we were staying at for 2 nights, but we passed that on our initial trip down this road to Panzano, which was a little beyond it, as you could see, slightly below Greve. This is the town that my friend Luca lived in. We'll talk about that a little more in a few minutes. Then we came back to Greve to spend the evening and to walk around the town a little bit. And then the next day we headed back down south, past Panzano this time, all the way down to the very bottom there. You see Castellina. And then a little bit to the east of that is the town of Radda. And then we came back to Greve for the night. And then the next day we came down again slightly different road, but pretty much south, southeast. And we went to the town of Gaiole in Chianti. And then we kind of headed right back to Figline Valdarno, where we were meeting Luca and his family for a dinner in their home. I think that's the time we actually stayed in their apartment. I put in the town of Cavriglia because that's the town I spoke about last time when we went to the restaurant Papo Sileno, which is in Cavriglia, and that's considered Chianti, and then back to Figline Valdarno. So that's the route that we will be taking along the Chianti Road, and as you can see, the Italian name is the Chiantigiani. And once again, we begin our drive in the way we usually begin our drives out of Florence, and that is going down the Lung'Arno. Lung'Arno is the general name given to all streets that run alongside the Arno River, the Lung'Arno. And they all have different names based on, like each block is a different name of a street. But this is the Lung'Arno, and we are headed probably from our hotel Croce di Malta, headed east, and then we're going to cross that bridge, the Alla Carraia Bridge. We're going to make a right turn there, head down, and this is the road that we're going to be taking south through Chianti. This is the SS 222, the Chiantigiani Road, and this is what it looks like as we just leave Florence, and we start to pass some very beautiful scenery, as you could see. And, the road sometimes looks like that, which is, a nice two-lane highway, and sometimes looks like that, which is pretty much of a country road. But, those roads are very nice. And again, when I got to the end of this road, where I made my turn, I honked my horn, because I wanted to make sure that the person coming around that curve knew that I was coming. So, and these are some of the scenes we passed on our way to Panzano. And this is, as you can see, very beautiful scenery. Perhaps the most beautiful scenery, even though I mentioned last time, and I don't want to go back on that I love Eastern Tuscany. I also love this as well. So this is quite beautiful. And all along the way, you pass through some very, very pretty towns. Notice that the roads are completely empty. This is what happens, again, I've mentioned this many times, when you travel in January. This is January of 2009, and the weather looked pretty good, but it was really quite cold. It was during this trip that Laura and I agreed that we were not going to travel to Italy anymore in the winter, although I'm starting to get the itch again, so that may happen, who knows. But we pass scenery that looks like this, and as you could see, on this, the bottom half, right from the middle of that, in that scene, are vineyards that obviously in January do not have much going on, but these are all vineyards. Chianti is known for its wine producing, and this is where the vineyards take place. You can see them there. There's the farmhouse with the house right in the middle there, and this is one of my favorite pictures. Look how magnificent that looks. This is, people always say to me, why do you return to Italy so much? And I could look at this picture and tell you, well, this is the reason right here. So this is what you're seeing as you're heading south from Florence down SS 222, and you pass these beautiful little, this is not an actual town, this is what would be called a borgo, which is kind of a small town, usually dominated by one major villa. Some more views, some more vineyards in the foreground there, and some more vineyards. Can't get away from those. And we come upon our first destination, the hilltop town of Panzano, and that's what it looks like from a distance. This is not one of Laura's photos, and today I said to Laura, you got to take more photos of these towns as you approach them. And she looked at me and went, well, duh, because every time we get to one of these towns, she says, we got to stop and take this picture. I'll say, Laura, we got to get to the town, we got to make a restaurant or whatever it is. So I'm usually very nervous when I'm at this point. But from now on, I didn't think I'd be doing a TV show. back then. So, you know, we took this off the internet, so it's obviously not a great picture. But this is the town of Panzano. There's another internet picture, so obviously it's a little, you know, a little foggy there. But we're driving now through the town of Panzano. This is a Laura picture, as you can see, much more clarity. And there she is herself, my photographer and wife, Laura, and I, standing in front of a tree right in the center of Panzano, which is a really, really beautiful town. And we thought this was an idyllic spot, and we had somebody take our picture. And then we walked down this country lane because we arrived in this town around 12:30 in the afternoon, walked down this beautiful country lane to this stone building right over here, which was the restaurant that we had read about to have lunch. So this is and that's, you know, this place had 5 tables. Look how beautiful that, how that looks. And the name of the restaurant is Oltre il Giardino, which means over the, you know, I already forgot, over the garden. Over the garden. Il Giardino means garden, and Oltre means over. So it's over the garden. And I guess there was, you know, a garden nearby. This is what it looks like inside. That's me, of course, sitting there about to begin munching on my food. We're drinking wine. We are, you know, we have usually what's called a quarter of a carafe of wine. Not very much, but just enough to get some flavor of it. And you can see that there's a fireplace behind us with books. A beautiful, beautiful restaurant. This is the dish Laura had, which was some pasta with duck. Now, I'm not really up on my food that much, and when I do the food show, which is going to be you know, down the road a little bit, I'm going to have a food expert with me, so I'm not going to have to go it alone on this. But this, if I remember correctly, was quite delicious. I got to remove this because I haven't eaten yet too much today, and that looks too beautiful. Then we walked around the town, and this is what the town looks like, walking around the various lanes and the beautiful streets. You know, these are typical streets in Italy, with all the steps, and you know, each view gives you a more spectacular scene. And you know, that's a scene looking from the village, looking towards the scenery. And you know, some more beautiful stone buildings, marred slightly by the fact that there's a modern car parked in front, but you know, that's the way it is. We like arches, obviously. We always throw some arches in, and they're quite beautiful. You know, you look through it, you see all the beautiful scenes on the other side. We were told about this. Macellaria. Kekuchi is a butcher store. We were told that this was a very good butcher store, so we sorted out, and somebody said, mention my name, his name, and we went in there and did, and the person had no idea who it was, but we got a chance to see the inside of a butcher store, and that's what it looks like. And then we continued walking around, and you know, whatever town you go into, you always eventually wind up at the Duomo, which is the main church of the town. And this is what it looked like walking, you know, straight up the hill towards the main entrance of the Duomo. I guess, no, that wasn't, this isn't the Duomo, this is just a house. That's the Duomo with the big doors. And we went inside. It's a beautiful church. You know, not on the magnitude of the, you know, the Duomos in some of the very, very big cities in Italy, but very, very pretty. And again, you know, beautiful stone walls with steps, and beautiful houses in the background. And this is another view of the surrounding countryside from the town of Panzano. And again, you know, Luca lived in this town, and it turned out that it became a very popular town for people to buy houses, and the prices of the houses just went up tremendously, and he could no longer afford to live there. So, but he told us definitely if you go to Chianti, you have to go to this town, and we did, and there's another beautiful view. I'm not sure where Luca lived, but there are some houses with that view in the background. This is the view these people get from their back windows. Notice they all have laundry hanging out the back. I guess they don't have dryers, which is, fine. I sometimes dry things on the backyard. Another view of the surrounding countryside as we are now heading back towards Greve, which is the place that we're going to be staying overnight. So actually we're heading north now because Panzano is south of Greve, so we're headed north, and those mountains in the background, the snow-capped mountains, are probably, I'm not exactly sure, to tell you the truth. I think we could be heading slightly north-northeast, so those could be the Casentino Mountains in the background. And there's another view of the countryside, beautiful landscape. Look at that road. We're driving into Greve now, on our way to Greve, going down this beautiful road. Now remember, this is mid-January. Imagine that. Imagine seeing all this greenery in mid-January. Look at that. We haven't seen a car yet either, you'll notice, because there's just, this is a great time to travel in Italy. Okay, there's a more natural January scene of, trees, bare trees in the middle of January. You would certainly expect to see that. And, we're on the road now, headed very close to Greve. Again, you have trees on the right and the left, bare of leaves. And, I love these signs. And, when there's no traffic on the road, it's very easy to move right up to these signs because I have a hard time seeing them. And there you could see the town of Greve is 17 kilometers to the left. And to the right is another group of towns. And there's Greve and Chianti. Again, Laura, probably said to me, let's stop and take this picture. And I said, no, we got to get there for the hotel or something. So we didn't quite make it to take this picture. So I took this off the internet, which is why, again, it's a little on the fuzzy side. So, okay, now just before you get to Greve and Chianti, you come to the Castello Verrazzano. And this is a very beautiful castle. Again, I took this picture off the internet. And the name Verrazzano probably rings a bell, especially for people who have been to New York City and know that there is a bridge by the name of the Verrazzano Bridge, which connects Staten Island with Brooklyn. And that's no coincidence that the name of the bridge is the Verrazzano Bridge, and the name of this castle is the Castello Verrazzano. Verrazzano, Giovanni da Verrazzano, was born in 1485, died in 1528, and he is known because in the year 1524, he was the first European explorer to go into New York Harbor. And because of that, the bridge was named after him, because he went right through that very small area separating Staten Island from Brooklyn. And if you know that area, you know that New York, Upper New York Bay and Lower New York Bay have various points where the bridge could have been built, but the bridge was actually built on the shortest part, what's called the Narrows, and the bridge is named after Verrazzano, and this is the fellow whose family owned this castle. So that's where that comes from. Even though, Henry Hudson sailed into New York Harbor in 1609, and a lot of people kind of credit him with having discovered New York Harbor, but that's not true. Verrazzano did. And there's another view of the castle. It's a beautiful castle. And we didn't take any photos of it because we were on our way towards Greve and Chianti. This is the main road taking you into Greve. A little bit about Greve. Let's see, do I have a bed? Okay, this is the main square, so we'll focus on this. This is a town that was actually in use before the Etruscans, so this is before the 1st century BC, and monks settled here in the 11th century. And let's see what else I have on Greve. That's pretty much it. It's You know, it's a very pretty town. This is the main square, and I have a better picture of the main square that I'll show you. This is the hotel we stayed in, Albergo del Chianti. We were the only people staying here, and I chose this hotel because I was told that the owners of the hotel are wonderful guys, the young guys who own the hotel for the family, and they were very, very charming young men. And this was a very wonderful hotel. We had the window right above the word Chianti, so we had this great window view, and nobody was else in was in this hotel. And this is the view we had from the hotel window, which was a stunning view of the main piazza. And we parked our car there, and then we had to move it, I think, in the morning because they do some cleaning. But this is what it looks like. You see all the arcades around the periphery of this square. Not a square, it's really a triangle, or it might even be a trapezoid, but I remember it as being a triangle. And you notice that the roofs of this town have these apartments and houses with little tables set up. So this is their view. It's really amazing with the mountains in the background. And of course there's cars. The cars kind of mar every scene, but it doesn't matter because this is, a modern town. And, the arcades along the periphery. This is a picture that Laura took, but it was at nighttime, so we couldn't get quite the correct exposure. But along this arcade were several wine stores. Now, Laura and I, after we left the Chianti region, were having dinner in Luca's house, and then a few nights later we were having dinner in my friend Lydia's brother Mario's house in Chiesina Uzzinese. So we needed 2 bottles of wine, and we wanted to get really good wine because these people are, Italians who drink a lot of wine, and they obviously know their wine very, very well. So we wanted to get a very good bottle of wine. So we went into one of these stores, and as I said earlier, we are not wine drinkers, but we went into one of these wine tasting places, and what you do is you buy a little, it looks like a little credit card for either €5 or €10 or €15, depending upon how many swigs you wanted to take, and all the wine bottles are lined up, and you simply put your credit card in and take a little bit of the wine, taste the wine, and then there's crackers all over the store where you take a cracker to change the taste, and then you go back to another bottle of wine. So I don't mind saying that I have some gastrointestinal issues that I cope with on a regular basis. I won't go into details, but I really shouldn't drink a lot of wine. But I'm in this town and I'm in this place, and we want to pick the perfect wine, so we're going from wine bottle to wine bottle. And as you could see, there are eight wine bottles lined up there. So I had a swig, and Laura had a swig of each of these 8 bottles. And let me tell you something, that's not a very good idea. So that was not a great experience, but we did pick out 2 really great bottles of wine. One we gave to Luca, and one we gave to Mario a few days later. So, this was really the last wine we'd had for a while because we'd had our fill of wine. I wasn't feeling that great right after that. But nonetheless, we decided to walk around the town and get a feeling for what this town looks like a little. And this is what it does look like. This is coming into the main piazza just behind our hotel. Some sculpture in the town. There's the first person we've seen on this entire presentation so far. This shows you how cold it was. That's me in January, and Barack Obama had been elected, and we were going to go home and watch the inauguration on January 20th. And I think that sign says "Il mondo cambia," which means the world changes. We thought, and that's me freezing. I'm saying to Laura to take the picture so we can get inside. And let's see, I'll be on the road. Yes, this is the next day. So on the next day, we get up early and we head down SS 222, the Chianti Road. And these are the views we pass on our way to the next town along the way. Remember that we'd already been to Panzano, so we pass Panzano and go to the next town beyond it, which I'll talk about in a moment. Past some wine fields along the way. Still stunning scenery. A little cloudy today. It was supposed to be a real, if I remember correctly, Luca emailed me and said he read the weather report, and it's supposed to be really a lousy, miserable day. And it didn't rain as much as he said it was going to be, but it certainly was a very cloudy day, as you could see. A little ominous. But again, no cars on the road. This is a pretty good road. Heading south, past some more wine fields, vineyards. You can see my knowledge of food and wine in general, with the mountains in the background. Down these roads, past these stone houses with the beautiful trees next to it. I always like this view very much. This is a very nice view of the countryside with the clouds above it. Probably a little Borgo. And we come upon our first town of the day, which is Castellina in Chianti. And that's what it looks like. Again, this picture was taken off the internet, so it's a little faded. And of course, you remember from previous scenes that this is not a really nice day. This is a real cloudy day, ominous. And this is the view we got from the internet, which is a very sunny day. So that's what tells you that this is not the true picture that we took. And this is what Castellina looks like. And this was a very, very charming town. And I remember we had a really nice time here. We sat on a bench and, kind of gathered in the ambiance. And we went, of course, to the Duomo and took a couple of pictures and went inside the Duomo. And it's always fun to do that as a focal point. Whenever Lydia used to take me around Tuscany, she would always stop off at the Duomo of every town. Everybody does that. And I believe that this was a holiday, a national holiday. So there wasn't too much congestion in the middle of town. Not very much going on. Everybody's off today, that day. Somewhere in January. I forgot the name of the holiday. Oh, but Castellina, let me tell you a little bit about it. I wrote a little bit about it. It has a population of 2,800. Again, it's an Etruscan town. The town was owned by the Guidi family until it was conquered by the Medicis in the 15th century. But a very pretty town with nice streets to walk down. All stone, probably from the 15th century, 16th century. Benches to relax. Nice, lanes, streets to walk down. Very, very much fun. Yeah, we just love walking around these towns. I don't believe we had lunch. No, we didn't. We did not have lunch here, but we did stop for a cappuccino in a store. I thought I had a picture of that, but I guess I don't. One of these stores was open, and all the locals were in there because apparently there weren't too many towns open that day. But we had our cappuccino there, and I believe this was open. This is a what's that? Looks like a fruit store. So obviously, Simpatica, or Simpatica, I guess, would be a fruit store. Some more sculpture. Some more beautiful scenes of Castellina. And now we're back on the road, headed to the east, to the next town of Radda in Chianti, which is east of Castellina. Again, passing some beautiful scenes, still overcast. And we come to the sign, and Radda is, you can see it, the sign pointing to the right. Radda in C period, that means Radda in Chianti, 8 kilometers. So that would be about 4 point, you multiply it by 6 times 8, and that would be 4.8 miles in, language that we understand better. But look at these, this is a private house down that lane. And I think we turn to the right, and these are private estates. Quite beautiful. The road to Radda. Again, winding roads. Not hairpin turns. That doesn't quite look hairpinish. Let me see what that sign says. No, it doesn't look quite It looks like it's, a slippery road, but I don't think it's a hairpin turn. Past beautiful estates and beautiful scenery. And again, right off the internet, we come to a picture of the town of Radda in Chianti. Look how pretty that town is, with the church steeple over there in the background. And we drove through through the town, down this road. Another pretty town with beautiful streets. Again, quite empty. Those balconies. Side streets. I remember this little piazza, very pretty. Okay, I'm not. I think we went in this. I think the store was open, so we went into this store, and it's very tempting. You go into these shoe stores, and you know that that's real Italian leather, and you're just tempted to buy something, a pair of shoes. I don't think I could wear those ones on the right there, but you're just tempted to buy something. More streets, and we actually wound up in this restaurant, and I can't read the name of the restaurant. Let's see. Radda has had a population of 1,600. It came under the influence of Florence in the 13th century. It's known for, I think, right outside of town is where Chianti Classico is produced. Again, it was originally owned by the Guidi family. So this was a beautiful restaurant. I remember having lunch here. We parked across the street and ate in this beautiful restaurant. And I remember having some of the best, that was lasagna, and I think that was one of the best lasagnas I've ever had in my life. Another great lasagna that I had was in Luca's house when Mary, his partner, made this for us, and that was pretty great. But this was, I remember, quite good. That's what Laura had, and that was some kind of mushrooms and pasta dish. That was really unbelievable, So that was quite a meal we had, a lovely lunch. And when we came out of the restaurant, we saw this scene, so we took a picture of the scene. The lower town of Radda. And then I believe we got in the car, and on we went. And this time we went back up north again, because we were returning to the town that we were staying overnight, which was the town of Greve. So, there's the signs again, and you see all the various places. I love these signs because this is all these wonderful places. Castellina back to the left, Siena actually to the left, and then a little to the north. Poggibonsi, which is a great center of buses combine there, and you have to switch buses to get from different places. Panzano, Greve, and Firenze, which is to the north, and that's where we're headed right now. Back up to Greve through these views. Beautiful towns along the side of the road. Another beautiful scene. There's our first car of the day. Imagine that. We finally come across a town coming around a curve. And now we're back in the town of Greve. As you can see, it's more of a town. And we're riding right into the center of town. Again, remember, this is a national holiday, so there's not too much going on here at the current time. Now, I thought this was a creek, but apparently there's a river that runs through Greve, and this is the river. So it's not much of a river, as you could see. So this is, going in one direction. This is looking at it from the other direction. It looks more like a creek that we'd see up here in Woodstock. Another fruit store. Remember the name for fruit? I don't remember. It was like a few frames ago. Simpat. See, I forgot the name. This is why have trouble with learning Italian. Of course, Laura loves to take doors, and this is no exception. There's a very interesting door, as you could see. Some houses in Greve. Here's me again, freezing. Again, it was after this trip that we decided never to return to Italy in the winter, and we haven't yet. So it was really cold. It was really like in the high 30s, low 40s, and very windy. Some beautiful country lanes in Greve. Greve is known as the unofficial capital of the Chianti region. There is no established capital, but Greve kind of claims that it is. This is where we had dinner that night. Again, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but I remember we had a very nice meal. It was a beautiful restaurant, as you could see, with stone all around it. And this is, I think, the bread that we had. They had this really delicious bread. These are, I believe that's called crostino, which is an appetizer. And usually when we have one of these meals, we share an appetizer and, share a pasta dish, a primo piatti. Sometimes we have our own, and then we definitely share a main course, or we have pizza. This is obviously what we did that evening, although I wouldn't eat a pizza like that. This is Laura's pizza. My pizza is more of a margherita, which is pretty plain. And again, this is a nighttime picture, so this is not the sharpest image, but this is what it looked like in the town square in the evening. Really, pretty, with the lights all over, and this is the view right from where the hotel was. Okay, then we went on the road the next day, headed towards Luca's house, but we decided to first go to one more town in Chianti, and we went to the town of Gaiole in Chianti. And again, we didn't have a picture of it, so we got one off the internet. This is what the town of Gaiole looks like from above. I mean, I don't think that, people, even if we had taken a picture coming into town, I don't think this would have been the picture, because this is taken from either a small plane or a helicopter. But this is what the town of Gaiole looks like on a nice day. We arrived on a really nasty day, and this is not a picture that we took. This is a picture that I again got off the internet. So this is not the scene we saw. This is another view of it off the internet. Very pretty town, mountain behind it. This is also off the internet. I'll show you what pictures we took. We took pictures on a really rainy, nasty day that did not come out very good. So this is what the town looks like. And this is the only thing I really remember about the town, was that we went in here to this bar. Bars in Italy are not bars where, in the United States, where you go into a bar and, you drink. There's like, you could have a drink here, but you could also have cappuccino, and you could have something to eat. And there's like candy bars, and you could probably even buy a phone card if you want to call back to the United States. And, this person kind of runs this place, and, everybody comes in for every reason known to mankind. There's children in here, and you can see some fruit over there. And we had a very nice chat with her. She spoke English, so we had a nice chat. I don't remember her name. I couldn't find my journal of this trip, so I was unable to tell you what her name is, but we had a very nice time there. And then we went out, and these are the pictures we took, and you can see why we took the pictures off the internet, because these pictures show what it looked like. It was a very nasty, rainy day. We just could not wait to get out of this town and get to our next destination. And, this is what it looks like riding along these country roads in the rain, which is not a very pleasant experience. You drive very slowly. And then we didn't actually go to Cavriglia, but Cavriglia, and at the time I didn't know it, but if you remember from the show 2 shows ago, well, was it the last show? We had dinner in a restaurant, Papo Soleno in Cavriglia, and that was right next to Gaiole, and I never realized it when we were in Gaiole. But this is what Cavriglia looks like. Again, this is off the internet. And these are those two fellows. The fellow on the left is the owner of the restaurant, and the owner, he was the one that spared us spending a couple of $100 on a meal that we obviously could not have eaten no matter what. So I just threw him in because this is some place that I think that Luca and will be taking us to during the trip we're taking in 2.5 weeks. And of course, this is what the restaurant looked like. You remember this from the last show. And then, of course, this was our final destination of this particular 3-day trip, Figline Valdarno. And we were here, obviously, to visit Luca. This is the main square in Figline Valdarno. And there's another view of the main square. Again, I showed this last time, but just to finish off tonight's show with our final destination. And there's a picture of Luca and me seated in the main square. And of course, I tried to get Luca last week. I don't know if you remember that, but I could not get him on the phone for some reason. And he consented to speak to us next week, even though we're doing a different kind of a show next week, not really something related to Tuscany. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to Luca. So, and of course, we're back at the beginning. So that's it. That's the presentation on the Chianti Road. I just want to say that next week we're going to be having a show once again with one of my favorite guest hosts, and that will be Mr. Frank Palaya. And Frank has some really beautiful pictures of some of the art in the town of Pompeii, the excavated site of Pompeii. And we'll be doing a little show on Pompeii. I have some really nice pictures. We'll be talking about the history of Pompeii and some of the buildings in Pompeii and what went on there on that very horrible day of August 24th, 79 AD. A little about a Roman town in general. And then Frank will be talking about what he wanted me to refer to as photos of secret Pompeii. And these are photos from some of the artwork in Pompeii that the average tourist is not permitted to see. The only reason that we will be seeing it is because Frank's wife, Eve Dambra, is an art historian who had special entree into these, secluded places, and he will be showing some of the work from that. So that will be next week's show, and then we have another show the week after, which will be a show on Lake Maggiore, and then I'm going away for 2 weeks. So I'm picking up some more shows along the way. So again, thanks for watching. Buonanotte e buona fortuna.